We are Group 9, and our project is the Hartnell College chatbot. I'm Nicholas Garcia,
I'm Angel Bedoya.
I'm Sebastian Santoyo.
I'm Kevin Lopez.
and our project description, the current issues with the chatbot that Hartnell has is it's extremely costly and slow. Ocelot costs about 15,000 a year is the base minimum, and that's just the minimum. Hartnell that pays more. It's slow. Its responses are extremely slow. It takes a while. It has no internal and external alternatives, and its responses are extremely mechanical. So it doesn't sound anywhere near human-like. It kind of just gives you the answer, and it's not accurate either. The project objective is to develop a cost-effective chatbot, save Hartnell a lot of money, provide links from Hartnell websites so when you ask it a question, it provides the source of where it found it from, and it responds in multiple languages, so you can ask it a question in any language, and it will detect it and give you a response in the language that you asked it for.
Um, For our original approach, we mainly split things into front end and back end, with Angel and I working mainly on the back end. And we chose Python as the core language that we are going to program in, and OpenSearch for the vector database, and OpenAI API to formulate the responses. And then we also had scraping for scraping, which Nicholas did, and MariaDB for the uh, backend that Kevin worked on. And we have two databases because OpenSearch is a vector database which allows similarity search, which finds relevant information quickly. And then the front end was mainly worked on by Kevin, and he used HTML and CSS to make a web interface that includes the sources and has translation. And some of the changes we had were we changed from OpenSearch to ChromaDB because Windows did not work well with OpenSearch. And we also included Fast API, so the front end won't directly connect to the back end. And we also made a suggestion, which was to change from using a Windows-based server to a Linux-based server, as we believe it will reduce the issues and the incompatibility between more technologies.
Next up, we have the deliverables. First, we wanted a chatbot trained on specifically the Hartnell website information. And we also wanted a web-based user interface to make it easy for both students and teachers to use it without any real issues. After that, we wanted all our data to be hosted on an AWS server with both of our databases to be working off of that server. And right here on the right side, we have kind of the flow chart on how we wanted all this to work. It's essentially whenever a user submits a question to the chatbot, we take that on the front end and that communicates with our AWS server. Within the server, we essentially use Python to embed the user question, and we do a similarity search through ChromaDB to find the top three most relevant websites to that question that they asked. And from there, we get all that information from MariaDB. We pass the question onto the LLM as well as all those documents. And then from there, it formulates an answer, gives it back to the front end so that the user could kind of finally see the response. And after this, we also have a small demonstration of the of what we kind of came up with. As you can see here, whenever we ask a question, it takes a second to kind of load up. From there, it gives us a very thorough response. You can see it also has the sources it used for that response, and everything on there is also clickable. And next up, you see he's asking in Japanese. And again, it takes a moment. And once it kind of processes that, it responds, and the entire response is also going to be in the same language that the user asked the question.
Okay, so for our results, we were able to deliver a successful minimum viable product, which is what we wanted from the beginning of the project. I know at the beginning of the project, we had a lot more features in mind, such as a speech to text feature to send a prompt to our chatbot. But then as we worked more on the project, we noticed that we should instead focus on creating and completing an MVP of the project. So we did that. We were also able to set up an AWS server with databases that are complete and fully functional. We were also able to use our API to access our database to use our scraped information. As for what we learned that Windows was not very stable when setting up OpenSearch, and it was also very difficult to allocate enough workers for the API. It was difficult to find relevant documents to feed our AI model. And lastly, we also learned that Docker was not very compatible for Windows Server, which is why we suggested Hartnell to migrate to a Linux server. And then lastly, that brings us to our thank you slide. And we just want to thank you guys for listening to our presentation. And we also want to give a big thank you to Chelsea Palm and Hartnell College for giving us this opportunity to work with them.